evening, everybody. Welcome to RedArmy TV. We've got quite a lot to talk about on tonight's social show, haven't we? We've got a couple of anniversaries that we've got to celebrate this week, and some very, very late breaking news regarding Daniel Ayala. Now, we were having a chat just before on the WhatsApp, just trying to get our heads around it. So tonight we've got Paul Burke, we've got Rob Fletcher, and then we've got backup presenter Dave Roberts as well.
I wasn't supposed to be here, fellas. So can I apologise up front? I've got me tea. I was supposed to be eating that a while ago, and Mrs. R will absolutely knack me if I don't eat me tea while it's hot.
Is that chips with your spag bol?
It's actually roasted parsnip.
Oh.
With me spag bol.
It.
So anyway, I'll do the culinary slot. You just talk football. Get on with it. Go on.
So, yeah, I was putting some notes together for tonight's show this afternoon, and one thing has jumped straight in at number one, which is the announcement in the last 30 minutes or so that Daniel Ayala is going to play no further part in the season. Paul, I'll come to you first of all, mate. What are your thoughts reading into that straight away?
He's off, isn't he? You have to. I mean, come on. 4 weeks ago, his missus is posting on Instagram that they're moving out down south. You don't commute back and forth to play for the borough. Or so what was it she said? We've moved house just for the summer. It's all a bit fishy, really.
This was the Hertfordshire kitchen installers thing, wasn't it? Where we're all going, seems a bit strange to be moving away down to Hertfordshire just for the summer.
Yeah. We still don't know where he's going, which is an important point as well, because he might not be going anywhere near there. So that's, still an important point. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Rob, what are your first initial reaction to that?
We're 5 days away from restarting the season, and we've just lost our first choice defender. Yeah. Now, he hasn't played since New Year's Day, so you'd assume lots of the prep around the team would be all right because you didn't have him for 6 months before that. I'm not really sure what the lineups have been in some of the friendly games that we've had, but surely we knew he wasn't going to be playing. I don't know if he's played in those games or what, but it just seems, the timing just seems a bit odd. I mean, there's one train of thought where you think, right, we've announced it a week early. By Friday, we'll have all forgotten about it and we're worried about who's going to play anyway. Yeah. But then you kind of think if they'd announced it 6 weeks ago, when they probably knew, we'd be up the wall saying, well, you've got 8 weeks left before the season starts, give him a new contract, sort him out, get it done. Everybody can extend. Not quite sure why the club has not just given him a month. A lot of the other clubs seem to have paid their players the extra month, don't they? They've made an agreement or whatever for the out-of-contract players to pay them up for an extra month. Obviously, he's probably on a decent wage, etc., etc. So I think he's been long gone for a while, personally.
Quick question, though, Rob, is how do we know they haven't offered him a month and he hasn't said no?
Well, we don't, do we?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Vague. That's the thing.
Yeah, it is a bit vague, the news that's been announced this afternoon. It was announced on the Evening Gazette website, basically saying that there's 2 games between now and when Ayala's contract officially runs out.
Yeah.
And there's a further 7 games between that point and the end of the season.
Yeah.
But he's going to play no part in any of those 9 games, which I think is a bit odd because you'd think, if he was playing to the letter of his contract, he'd have 2 games for us and then that's it.
Yeah.
Dave, I'm going to come to you on this point because you know obviously a lot more about the ins and outs and the intricacies and the quirks of football and contracts than every man on the street. What are your thoughts behind that? And could the club say to him, well, no, you will play a part in those 2 final games?
No, it's bizarre. He'll sign a contract which expires in the 30th of June. Now, under normal circumstances, non-COVID circumstances, what tends to happen is you play until second week in May. Obviously, if you're involved in playoffs, your current contract will obviously take that period of time into account. Then you effectively get 4, 5, 6 weeks of contracted time before your contract expires. I can't see why, unless there's been some sort of a rift, a bit of a split behind the scenes. I can't see why Danny Ayala can't play the last 2 games of his remaining contract, or play the 2 games which fall within his contracted time. Now, I can only see one or two things have happened. There's been a battle, and Woody's said, right, if you're not with us, we don't want you to be part of it. Or Ayala's done a bit of a Lyle Taylor and dug his heels in and said, I'm not playing. In which case, I'm a great Danny Ayala fan, and if he's done that to the Borough, then he's gone down in my estimation. If he's done that. So we don't know which way it's come. There can only be one of those two things, because he would have been available to play those 2 games had there not been some sort of spat. Now, it could be, if you're not going to sign for us, you can get out. So it could be a club-led thing, we don't know.
Well, just to go back to Lyle Taylor, obviously we've spoke about him quite a few times on the social over the last few weeks. It does look as though Ayala's doing a very similar thing, but I must stress, details are very scarce at the minute. We don't know the reasons behind the timing and why he will or won't play. But yeah, we sort of thing, and might be maybe ruining the relationship that he's built up with the Borough fans. What do you think?
I think we got half of that. This is why I've been drafting in at the last minute, because Chris hasn't paid his Wi-Fi bill.
We heard ruined.
We heard. What do you think? That was it.
Fans. Did you say something about ruined his relationship with the fans?
Well, he's done a Lyle Taylor in effect, hasn't he? So yeah, has he wiped out all the good he's put in?
I think we need a bit more info. I mean, he might well have signed for a club over the weekend, and it just hasn't been announced yet. And then he's just said to them, right, as part of me leaving, I'm not playing these 2 games. And the club's kind of said, fine. You don't. We just don't know.
What can
There's
you do?
Probably no way that we will know.
What power have you got as a club if the player's leaving anyway, and basically he's just not going to fulfil the last month of his contract? What can you find him? 2 weeks' wages? That could well have been part of the deal. I'm not going to play. I'm going to get fined. Yeah, we'll cover that. Don't worry. So then you sign for us on the 1st of July.
Covered by a signing on.
Could be any of that. Could be any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing, here's one for you. What about if he signs for a new club on the 1st of July and plays for them for the last 7 games? For sure.
That's a very good point, actually.
Is that allowed? Is he going to go? If he goes to Leeds, I'm sure they would love to have him for the running.
Well,
scores the winning header on the last game of the season.
Is that allowed? Because obviously they've said the contracts. If you're up on the 30th of June, the club can extend to the 30th of July. But does it work the other way in that you can sign for your new club if you've signed your pre-contract? Now I know in the UK the pre-contract deals are slightly different, aren't they? You can only sign one, I think, in the last 2 months of your contract. I think. Whereas I think if you're playing abroad, you can sign it in the January. But in UK, it's slightly different, but he might well now turn out for another club.
There's absolutely no reason, apart from, I tell you, the only thing is, FIFA tend to have 1 month, and it's normally the month of July in the UK's specific situation, where there is no football played. That's what they tend to have, and obviously then that's punctured by World Cups, European Championships and all that, so it's domestic football. But this year is so different. And
it's very strange, isn't it?
and let's not bear. Sorry, it's normally June, I should say, not July. This year is so different because of COVID. Everything's been extended. FIFA have been saying we'll extend these contracts through until the end of July. I'm not sure exactly where legally within FIFA's statutes there'll be changes made to say whether he can or he can't play for another club. Under normal circumstances, he can't, because he can't sign his new contract, or he can't exercise the rights of his new contract until July the 1st. We just don't know what's gone on behind the scenes in the administration of the game. That's the problem.
FIFA are passing that book down to like the Premier League, aren't they, and the Championship, and letting them decide what the players can and can't do.
There could even have been an agreement to say, look, if we are going to be offering players that extra month, we're not going to allow them to play for another club within that month. Do you think that might be plausible, possibly? Or
he's going to Burnley and we're getting Gibson.
Well, we can hope and pray, can't we? Dave, you touched on a really interesting point there when... I think it was Rob, actually. Do you think possibly Woodgate's maybe saying, right, well, if you're not going to be here next season, I'm going to work with the players that are here? And he's maybe said... Was it Dave? Yeah, sorry. I'm
going to do that and say Rob.
The connection's that bad, guys. So do you think it's a case of very much like Lee Bowyer with Lyle Taylor at Charlton.
Yeah.
You've made yourself available, but you've made it clear that you don't want to be here, so I'm not going to pick you.
Could be. It could be, but I'd be really disappointed if that's the case. Simply because we have 9 games remaining, and there's every chance we can go down. Every chance.
Yeah.
If we don't get off to, we've got the hardest running out the teams down there, in and around us. So 2 things can happen. We suffer from our hard running and we go down, or we get off to a slow start in these 9 games. COVID breaks out again, we get a second spike, and the season is halted again, and they decide it's average points per game, in which case, if we get a slow start, we go down. So there's every chance we could be relegated this season, and we could be playing Sunderland next year. Now, great over 2 games, but not over 40-odd. I really don't want to suffer League One football. I don't. So if I was Woodgate, I'd be more focused on what is my strongest team. And you know what? He might have done that exercise and come out with a math saying it's with players who want to be here. And maybe he thinks Ayala doesn't want to be. Maybe he thinks his heart's not going to be in it. His commitment's not going to be in it over those 9 games. So the best thing is say you're not playing. We don't know.
It's human nature, isn't it? Especially if you know you're heading out the door.
As that fella down there said, we need more information, but we're very unlikely to get it.
Yes, it is early days. I mean, it's probably less than an hour since the news broke. So, details are quite scarce at the moment. But another aspect of it as well is, as Rob said earlier, Ayala's not played since the turn of the year.
New Year's Day, wasn't it? New Year's Day.
So maybe, whatever form or balance we think we've got, that's another conversation. You might not want to scupper that by bringing players in at this late stage. Paul, what do you think we're going to be going with on Saturday at Swansea, against Swansea?
I think it'll be McCurdy and Fry. Personally.
What about Friend? If Friend's fit,
Friend and Shotton.
From what we can tell, it's probably going to be a full complement of squad that you can choose from.
McCurdy, Fry, Friend and Shotton. At the back.
What about Coulson? Do you think Coulson will play a bit further up on that wing?
Further up as a winger. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, that's it's another one of those situations where we've kind of stumbled on a formation, and I want to say it's worked, but it hasn't really. But it's been the best of whatever we've been offered this season. This season's been not the best. I mean, Woodgate's come out this week and said that himself. It was a year anniversary yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw all the articles all over the internet at the minute. It's a year since Jonathan Woodgate was actually appointed Middlesbrough manager. I'm not going to ask you how it's gone, because we all know it's been terrible. Rob, I want your opinion on this one. He's come out in himself and he said, we're in a bad position, so you can't say it's been successful. Is that, yes, I'm taking responsibility for my own failings or the team's failings, I'm not putting it purely on him, or is it kind of a bit of a cop-out?
I think what Woodgate is trying to do, he's trying to come across like he's a straight talker. He gets to the point. He doesn't mince his words for the fans. And that's okay. But if the football's rubbish as well, it doesn't really matter what you say. Yeah. Now, we've all chatted on this before about Pulis, whether he's a success finishing 6th and 7th. Was Karanka boring, but we got promoted? Generally, if you're going to win 10 games out of 15, 1-0, you're buzzing because you know you're going to win every week. I think, to his credit, he's trying to come out and say it isn't a success, which he hasn't been a success at all. And I think he can only say that. I think it would have been a little bit nice to say, I've not been a success, but what I've tried to do is this, this, and this, and it just hasn't worked. So for the 9 games that we've got coming up, I'm just trying to find my best 11 to put out there and win games. I can't follow my philosophy or my thought process or whatever. I'm in a World Cup. I'm going to play whatever formation I'm going to play to get a result. If we win 5 games 1-0 and draw the other 0-0, I don't care. At least it means I can play attacking football or buy the players I want the following year. But I think it's a little bit easy to come out and say it's not been a success.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, because we all know that. We've had long losing streaks and long winless streaks and whatnot. And I think that, credit to him. He said it, but what else is he going to say? Yeah. I've actually been impressed with 30 of the 39 games we've played. It's been brilliant, hasn't it? And you'd be like, well, no, it hasn't. Not at all.
He's not been the best.
Other managers have been sacked for finishing who've been higher up in the league than he has, and we've sacked managers for a lot less than
Southgate was sacked when he was much higher up.
Yeah,
he was challenging near the top, wasn't he? Yeah.
But it's not been the best of seasons. But we just want to see at least some foundations to go on for the next year, and we've not seen our best team. We still don't know our best formation, and it happens week after week after week.
We've said before we're in the Strachan-Mowbray section. We're coming to the end of the Strachan era. It might well be that Woodgate presides over that, and we're hopefully going to get into the Mowbray era where we sell a few players for a little bit of money and we can try and invest wisely. I think that's where we're at.
I'm not a boo boy. I'm cut me in half and I do bleed Borough. I'm the idiot who was working in America when we were having those European nights, and I was flying backwards and forwards from America every single game. I'm Mr. Borough inside just as much as the rest of us. So I don't like to be critical, but I have to be. Because at the start of the season, I said, look, hands up. He's untried, he's untested, rookie manager. He's not got the best hand dealt to him because of this financial situation of the club. All I want to see is him develop across the season. And I'm happy to write this season off, as I'm sure a lot of fans were. Give us a mid-table finish.
Exactly the same, yeah.
All we want to do is see him make his mistakes early on, learn from them, and then back half of the season, we start seeing him progressing as a manager. I haven't seen it.
No, we've gone backwards and backwards and backwards.
The chance we had were those 4 straight wins. Those 4 straight wins was the chance to then springboard forward. We went to West Brom, we went to Preston, we won them both. Part of a 4-game winning run, and we all thought, get in, this is it, it's turned. But then we nosedived again. So, I don't want to be critical. It's unfair to be critical. It's easy to sit on the side and be critical and point the finger. But no, he's stating the obvious. It's not been a great season, has it? It really hasn't. And I don't see too many green shoots there that we can grasp hold of and think, if we survive by the skin of our teeth this season, what's going to happen next season? That's where I'm at. I've got to be honest.
I just want to not pull you up, but probably explore a point that you made there. And it's often something that I've seen discussed on social media. Obviously, we saw Tony Mowbray when he took over the club, and he had no money to spend. We brought in free signings, we brought in loan signings, and we sold a few players on. I might be wrong, but from my point of view, looking in, I don't think Woodgate's got that excuse, because we've got the money from Traore, we've got the money from Gibson, we've got the money from Bamford, we've got the Premier League parachute payments. None of that money's going back into the club for players. And I know, we've got to cut our cloth going forward, but this year we could have spent some money in Adigo, couldn't we? Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's actually an account, I think it's called The Price of Football. It's an account on Twitter, and they go through everybody's club accounts and stuff like that. Basically, the problem that we had was we ended up paying for the Championship promotion season by getting promoted. So our wage bill was about 50 million, something like that.
Right,
but
okay.
So basically, when we got promoted and we got our millions, we had to pay off that first. So let's say we got 100 million, 150 million. You pay off that, which was about 40 mil. We spent another 30 plus, let's say, another 15 on wages. There's 75 gone. 10 million on the stadium. There's 90 gone. The following summer, you spend 50 million with Monk. And I don't remember us selling any. Well, we made our money back on the likes of Daru. So there's 140 million gone in 12 months. Pulis spends another 20. So there, we've spent nearly, maybe you take back the Gibson money and whatnot, which was 50 mil. I think we made something like 5 million profit last season. And every other year before that, we've lost at least 10. So I think it's been dry for a while. And the
money's been coming in, but it's already set aside, pretty much.
Yeah, you put it on your catalogue account. You've seen a new pair of trainers. You've put it on your catalogue to pay £1 a week for the next 25 years. And that's pretty much where we're at.
Don't talk about trainers with the queues at the shops today, mate.
Yeah, Paul, you were down at the Sports Direct today, weren't you?
You were supporting the Geordies, weren't you, mate?
I'm going to say, I can't believe you're lying. Yeah. Can't believe you're lying in Mike Ashley's pocket.
I know.
Outrageous.
Right, I'll see you next week, fellas.
A friend of the Mags.
Did you get a big mug? Did you get a massive mug?
Did they ask you to buy a big bag at the end? Like, do you want to buy a carrier bag for £1?
No.
All right.
I used a pushchair.
Not doing the job then if they're not pushing carrier bags your way.
But maybe it's looking at figures and bare figures probably isn't telling the whole story then. But it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. And obviously a lot of it is going to be determined by where we end up at the end of the season. Now, as it stands at the minute, I read a frightening fact earlier on that we are on course for our worst league finish since 1990. Now, that's not far short of how long I have been around. So that is a long time. Sorry to make you feel old, Dave.
Thanks, mate.
That is a long time.
Really appreciate that, mate.
Sorry. What would be your worst case scenario, Paul, next season if we did actually go down? Do we stand a chance of coming back up?
I don't think we do. I think we'll be another Sunderland.
Mm.
You know, I can't see it.
See, I mean,
I just can't see it. We don't have the players.
Hmm.
I think one of the big issues is on pitch. So I think Coventry won League One, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
We're better than Coventry, right? If we have the same players now, we're better than Coventry, right?
Yeah.
I know it sounds a bit mad considering in League Two 18 months ago, but I think the bigger problem that we've got is, for Woodgate especially, he is going to be without possibly 7 of our most senior players.
This is something else I wanted to speak about before the end of the show. He did actually come out with a couple of excuses, Woodgate, in his interview yesterday. I think he actually said, "I don't want to make excuses, but
yeah.
We've had injuries. Obviously, George Friend's been out for huge parts of the season. But by the same token, George Friend's been out, but Hayden Coulson's coming in his place. So there's I think the squad's there to be a success in this division. But yeah, that is one of the points he came up with. We've got 6 or 7 players out of contract at the end of the season, and in his words, they've been great. You'd expect that. They're not going to down tools in the middle of the season. But yeah, we could lose a huge core of our squad over the summer. And we were speaking before we came on air, and it seems a bit strange to be offering players contracts now. But do you not think, for example, Adam Clayton, if we stay in the Championship, he probably wouldn't stay, but if we went down to League One, we might want him. Do you think there's a bit of that going on, which might be concerning when we're offering players these terms, Dave? Do you think it's probably is a bit late, but it's still up in the air?
The problem you've got is when you're at the top of the table, or when you're in the higher reaches of the table and you're pushing for promotion, and that includes the playoff zone, or whether you're at the bottom and you're in the threat of relegation, you can't plan 100%. You've got to have your plan for either staying in the league, if you've got the threat of relegation hanging over your shoulders like we are, and you've got to have a contingency of what if. What if we go down? That's the best way to run a business, is have your contingency ready. Likewise, if you're
we can't exactly...
No, exactly.
We can't exactly go out and offer Ayala top terms because we might go down next week.
Exactly. But you've also got players looking at it in reverse as well. So it's not just the club's focus, it's the players' focus. And it's wrong, because they're the guys on the field who can make a difference and can change that scenario of whether we're up, we're down, or we stay in the same division. But the players will be looking at this and thinking, do I want to be here if we go down to League One? There's every chance we could be in League One next season. So the club will be thinking, can we afford to sign these guys onto other additional contracts, longer-term contracts, whatever it is, if we're in League One, ? And you've got players going, do I want to stay at the club if we're in League One, ? So it just... The best thing you can do is nail yourself a successful season, and you don't have to worry about that. But that's easier. That's easier said than done, as I'm sure there's 20-odd clubs already thinking, I wish we had a better season. So it's a toughie. But I want to go back to the point you made earlier, which is Rob made about the amount of money that's been spent. And you talked about the financial environment the club now operates in, as opposed to what it used to operate in. I think, we're Borough fans. We stick with our club thick and thin. I've seen, because I'm old, plenty of thin rather than thick.
I didn't say that.
I think we're realists as well. And we would all accept the club is in a completely different financial situation now than it was 5 years ago or 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
Therefore, we would accept not going up to the Premier League this year.
Yeah.
But can we really accept, 9 games in, COVID restart with the favourites to go down. No, I don't think we can accept that.
Yeah.
No. We all know that the glory days of Alan Boksic, he was only here because we were paying him obscene amounts of money.
Yeah.
Fabrizio Ravanelli, he was only here because we were paying him obscene amounts of money. We all know those days are long gone. And obviously, what little we get from the club is basically saying we're cutting our cloth to match. But no, Dave, you bang on. The vast majority of fans, when Woodgate was given the job a year ago yesterday, said, I'd be happy with mid-table this season and then build from there.
Yeah.
Ibrahim Tanner's been on in the comments.
I was just going to mention Ken Hall there, saying at the end of the day, it's all about the money, no loyalty these days. That's what football is. That is what football is now.
It's been like that. We don't like to think it is, but it's been like that for a long time. But Ibrahim's been on. Ibrahim Tanner, a friend of the show, fantastic fella. He says, I think it will definitely be Spirit of '86 next season. Young lads flying the flag. We've got some decent young talent, and that's what the future looks like, producing talent and selling it on. Paul, would that be... Obviously, this question's all up in the air because we don't even know what division we're going to be in next season. Would that be a philosophy that you would be happy with going forward?
I think we've been a selling club for a few years now. Not just coming into next season. Yeah, I think we've changed from, like you said, the massive money all those years ago. We've become the selling club. We've not managed to keep all of our best talent.
But are we still getting the same numbers of talent through the ranks as we were 10 years ago, for example?
I'd say we were, yeah.
I've just written down there, if we went down to League One, right, here you go. This could be your back five. Pears, Spence, Coulson, Wood and Fry. They're all academy players.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Tavernier and Wing. And you've got Fletcher.
That's a good young core. To be fair, that's exactly what Jonathan Woodgate said he was going to give us. So,
then on the flip side, I reckon I did a little quick calculation there. I think so. The 6 players that we're going to lose: Ayala, House, and Shotton, Johnson, Gasted, and Friend. I reckon they're costing us £1 million a month.
Possibly,
right?
Yeah,
so,
possibly, probably even more.
Because a lot of them signed their deals when they were in the Premier League. So Ayala definitely did, Gasted did, and Friend did. So they must be on at least 30,000 plus.
Yeah,
even though we don't pay, like you're saying about Boksic, we don't pay the huge wages anymore, like that we used to. That's still, probably a couple of £100,000 a week. And would we be that much different in League One with some of them players? Maybe Clayton might want to stay. Saville, would we get any money for him? Not quite sure. We got Paddy McNair still, who's got you basically want to sell a somber longer. If you can get $5 million for him, chop a load off the wage bill, you might have a chance. But it's very, very hard to get out of that division. Like Peterborough's always the team that I look at. If you're a Peterborough fan, you're going to get 80 to 90 goals every season because all they do is buy all the best lower league strikers. Ivan Toney, I think it was over 2 million, I think, from Newcastle. They're going to sell him for about 10 million. That'll fund them for a couple of years.
Did he go from Peterborough to Newcastle, then back to Peterborough?
It might have been Scunthorpe, I think.
Scunthorpe. I knew he was at a lower league team.
But if you're like you're saying, Dave, you're a Peterborough fan. They've been in the Championship maybe 2 years out of the last 8. But every week they go thinking, we're going to put 4 in here. It doesn't even matter who played. Yeah, we might go away and lose 4-2 or whatever. But they understand what they're seeing. And I think for us, as like you say, we're a bit real, aren't we, Borough fans? We like to know what's going on at the club. But I'm not sure we're quite happy with what's going on now.
Yeah. Can I put a stick in your spokes just on that one? You were saying there's our back 5. But if we're in League One, is there a chance we might cash in on Dale Fry? Could we cash in on Wingy? Do we need the money? Because obviously revenue in League One is far lower than the Championship, which is considerably lower than the Premier League, we know. But you don't get the TV money as much. You certainly would have crowds down. So it's all right saying we could be the renewed, the Renaissance team of '86 again, and we could go with that sort of local back 5. But we might be tempted to sell Pearsie. We might be tempted to sell Fry. Certainly would look for a move. Yeah. I would think Fry wouldn't want to be in League One. Wingy has been tipped. Tav, I'm not sure. Tav, I know he's been tipped and watched supposedly by other clubs, but I don't think Tav. I don't think Tav's as confident about himself moving on to a higher level. I think he would be. I think he'd be comfortable to give it another year at least. But there's that little spectre hanging over our shoulders. If we were to go down, it's all right to say, and this is the playing squad we'll have. But I think he could guarantee the club would need cash and players would want to go.
We also might have to do that if we don't go down.
You are asking a big ask of players that are quite crucial stages in their career to say, help us get out of this. It would be a brilliant team and probably a pretty good League One team, with pretty good Championship team if we're on form. But yeah, it'd be a bit of a big ask to ask those players to
I'm
stay.
sure Sunderland were thinking exactly the same. All right, we have to go down, but we're going to bounce straight back up. And they've been going to bounce straight back up for the last 3 years, as Netflix has so nicely underlined.
Do you think there's a case of probably Tav maybe trying too hard to wanting to get to where his brother is at Rangers? Whereas if you just settle down a bit.
Do you know what? I'm going to upset all
I think you see it in glimpses, but the vast majority of when I see Tav, is probably trying too hard in general, to be honest. He'll pick the ball up, dribble for a bit, and then end up exactly where he picked the ball up. And his passes tend to be a bit too hopeful rather than taking a simple pass and keeping all the possession. But that's just me. There's plenty of other fans out there that think the exact opposite.
Well, Michael Burns sent in a message, Chris. I don't know if you've seen it. He says, look, it's not easy to get out of League One. Trust me, I'm actually an Ipswich fan. You need a top strike. You need a top striker for that league, and I think he's dead right. I think the Championship is a hard one to get out of once you drop in from the Premier League, as a lot of teams have found out. You don't automatically bounce back, but I think it's even harder if you drop out of the Championship because of all the major financial implications. No parachute money, nothing like that. To enable you to rebuild for that automatic promotion season on the back of it, I think it's really tough.
League One, the teams tend to be quite similar all across the board, and we've said this about the Championship before. I mean, there's usually, Barnsley and a couple of others at the bottom, and you've got like a top 6 or a top 8 that any of them will probably finish in the playoffs. But yeah, League One, anyone can really make a run for it, really, can't they? But it is going to be those players like a good goal scorer that will make the difference. Now, I'm going to move on a little bit to something probably a little bit happier as well, and it'll tie in to something else later on. Dave, I've been taking presenting notes. As well as the anniversary of Jonathan Woodgate joining the club as manager, which was a year ago yesterday. On the 12th, back in 2001, Mr. Steve McLaren actually was given the reins as Middlesbrough manager. Now, I put a little post out on the Facebook page a couple of days ago, just asking, was he our best manager ever? There's a few comments came in. I'll dig some out while you lads are chatting, if you like. Paul, I'll come to you first. I think statistically he was, but he's probably not remembered as well or thought of as fondly as some other managers that we've had. What were your thoughts on Steve McLaren's time at the club?
Great time following the club, winning the trophies, the European nights, the European games, the comeback against Bâle and Stour. But then on the other hand, you've got the fan throwing his season ticket at him. So
it was definitely an uppy-downy time, wasn't it? Yeah.
But there was some great wins against like Man United where Mendieta tore them apart. Was it 4-1?
He was fantastic, wasn't he, that game? Yeah. Did he score 2 and set one up?
Yeah.
And it was probably the best game we saw out of him. I don't think we saw anything else like that. Rob, what was your assessment looking back?
It was a tricky. I remember when he first came. Actually, we looked absolutely hopeless. That first sort of 6 weeks, you just think, what on earth is going? He's regarded as one of the best coaches in England. They can't even pass to each other. They don't know how to. Did we lose 4 games on the spin 2 years in a row? I think we lost the first 4. The last 5. Arsenal used to come and think it's like playing against schoolboys. They used to absolutely every time they played us.
Rob, Arsenal used to spank us at the Riverside every season for a good spell.
Yeah.
We did an interview with Steve a couple of years back, and I asked him. I took him right back to the start, and I said, come on, take us through the entire journey. At the start, not the best of starts. And the phrase he used to describe himself was pointless and clueless. So he actually described himself as pointless and clueless at that time at the Borough. And he said he had to learn very, very quickly, which he did, to give him credit.
And I think he was brilliant. I think the trouble that we're always going to have with McLaren is he seemed to want to leave every summer. Whenever there was a job that was bigger than Borough, i.e. Leeds and Newcastle, he wanted to be straight out the door. It'll always sour with the England job being announced before the UEFA Cup final, which I don't think will have been his decision at all. But that was always a bit of a, oh, right, okay, so you've taken us to this point and then that's it, is it? I think we all probably would have accepted it after the final, when you've got beat 4-0, you think, actually, do you know what? Hasn't he taken us out at a good point? But I think the fact that it came later on was a bit tricky. But best finish in the Premier League history. We won the Carling Cup. We got the UEFA Cup final in 3 years in a row. He's the best man, isn't he?
He's got to be, hasn't he, statistically, yeah.
Can't argue
And
with it.
Arsenal didn't beat us in the Invincible season.
Yeah.
I can't argue with the fact he is, without doubt, the most successful Borough manager ever.
Yeah.
He broke a few records on the way to those European nights. I think there was one, he became the first English manager, or the last English manager, to take an English club to a European Cup final in something like 25 years, 30 years? I don't have the exact details with me.
Was it Aston Villa? Was it not Ron Saunders, the other one?
Was that the European Cup final?
Yeah,
like
82,
83-ish, yeah.
So not only did he perform in terms of Borough history, he performed nationally as well, if you like. You can't argue.
Give us some great times.
Go on, Chris.
I was just going to say, give us some great times. There's a lot of huge Borough moments that are going to be synonymous with Steve McLaren. Obviously, we've touched on the European adventures that we had. The final in Eindhoven against Seville. It's probably the biggest game of our history. And I don't really see us getting to that height again. So probably the biggest game that Middlesbrough will ever play in. As Rob said, best Premier League finish. Even little things, when I was doing a bit of research, the game where we pipped Manchester City to European football. Again, that was another sort of McLaren moment. But yeah,
it's a Schwarzer moment, wasn't it?
Well, he was involved. He picked it.
he did something, didn't he?
He did something. Yeah, he did something. Funnily enough, there's quite a lot of players that I've read looking back on McLaren's time at the club, and they've said he was a great coach tactically, but manager-wise probably wasn't the best at communicating what he wanted. So could he have been better? Is that a point we could look back at and think, Dave?
I think he said
in the back room there.
Well, he said was there what? Who? He did say when we sat down and had a chat with him that he was an awful person to work with. So I think work for. I think what he's done over the years, he's been able to look back on how he used to perform. And he openly admits that, you know, he was a bit of a hard taskmaster, and not a lot of people got on with him. But I can't, you know, the one question surrounding McLaren's tenure I can't escape from is that age-old question of quality of football, entertainment value, as in, against return. And it begs that question, doesn't it? What would you rather your team be? The Kevin Keegan entertainers who didn't win the league, or an Aitor Karanga drilled from the back, sideways, backwards, sideways, but you get promotion? What would you rather have?
Yeah, this is precisely why I asked the question on the Facebook page, because statistically he was our best in terms of results and what we achieved. But was his team as good as Brian Robson's team? Or which would you rather watch?
I'm sure they could organise a game to try and find out, couldn't they?
Now there's an idea.
We'll find out next year. Yeah.
Which leads me nicely into my next point, Dave. Could you give us a bit more update at the minute on where we are with the bet game? Obviously, over the last few days, we've announced Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and
Massimo
Macaroni. Yeah, so the teams are going to be playing about 2-2-6, aren't they?
This is. You see, I'm sniggering when I read some of the comments, because there's an awful lot of people going, bloody hell, you know, you're going to need 4 games to get all these players in. Well, we've only announced 34 players. So split them in half. That's 17 each. That's all. That's a normal team that goes into a game on a Saturday afternoon with your subs on the bench. No, there are more names to come out. I had a brief WhatsApp conversation with Mikel this afternoon, but I've been out. I've been busy all day. So we're now going to sit down and we're gonna flesh out that 2003 to 2006 squad, because there's a fair few players who have agreed, and we need to get the names out. So you're going to see that imbalance of many strikers and few defenders. You're going to see that balance come into perspective over the next couple of days. So we're probably going to announce. Sorry, mate.
Strikers. That was McLaren's tactic. Get the strikers on, and we'll win the game.
Yeah,
it's almost Keegan, isn't it?
Strikers on until we score.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly still, and we're a long way away from game day.
Yeah.
But it's certainly still the talk of everyone in the town, isn't it, Paul? I mean, it's all over social media. It's all over, every different kind of fan forum you can think of. It's only going to be getting bigger and bigger, really, isn't it, as we get more and more people announced?
Absolutely.
And, as it gets closer to game day.
It's people asking me who's playing. I can't tell you. I can't even walk around Morrison's without people approaching me, asking me who's going to play.
Well, I've got to tell you. I'll tell you one name now. He's. I'm sure he'll accept he's not on that list of the superstars, but poor old Steve Baker is getting absolutely driven up the wall at work because people are saying, your name's not on the list, your name's not on the list. And he said, but I've had a call, but your name's not on the list, your name's not on the list, you've not been announced, and people don't believe him. So, Stephen Baker, good lad, great lad, fantastic. Salt of the earth, he's going to be in there.
I remember, right, as a 12, I mean, I live in Liverpool now, and as a 12-year-old...
You're joking, aren't you?
Came to Anfield with my dad for the Carling Cup. Coca-Cola Cup then, wasn't it? Semi-final.
Yeah.
We were up in the gods in Anfield, and Steve Baker was brilliant. He man-marked McManaman. We lost 2-1, and we played brilliantly, and obviously we won the second leg. But I'll always remember Baker for that. You know, you're going about young players. That team, people forget about Robson. He brought through Stockdale, Harrison, Baker, Ormerod, all
Somerville,
Andy Campbell.
And they were really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to give Steve a mention. I had to give him a mention.
I was just about to ask you there, has he took McManaman out of his pocket yet? Because he absolutely had him. What's he doing these days? All right, well, tell us later on. Doesn't matter. But yeah, there's still plenty of names to be announced.
Plenty of names to be announced. There'll be quite a few coming out over the next few days because we need to start fleshing it all out. Still some big names to come out as well. It's so it's worth hanging on and listening and keeping your eyes open. But the things I'm up to at the moment, I'm talking to the council because we're trying to make. I'd like to make a weekend of it. I've said this before, so we're talking about the possibilities of the fan zone in Centre Square. I've only just found out that the big TV screen's broken, so we'll have to get that repaired to put the game on. So we're talking about things like that. I mean, my ideas, and it might not come off, but this is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Orange Pit Market that weekend, a special one be brought in, football festival type feel. So there's lots of food and drink around the town centre. We're talking about on the cultural side. Can we get some historic exhibits out there? So I was talking to Tosh Warwick just yesterday. Talking to the council again this week. So can we do something with Mima from a football art perspective? A lot of different football things that weekend. That's what I want to fill the town with. Now, everything costs money. Nothing comes free. So there's all those sort of negotiations and discussions going on about what's possible, what's it going to cost, how easy is it for us to sort out. So that's where we're at this week. So there's a bit of a hiatus in the football side. And obviously the club are firmly focused on a season restarting. So we've not had a lot of engagement with the club this week for obvious reasons. That is no criticism whatsoever, because part of the reason why they've not been able to get involved as closely as they will be, I'm sure, is because they haven't got a clue what's happening with this season, let alone next season, which we're trying to then nail a football match onto the end of. So, they're firmly focused this week on that. So it's almost non-football match type work we've been doing this week.
Yeah, it's the groundwork, isn't it? And we've talked about this before, and I can see it really being a proper festival of Teesside football. And even if you're not a football fan, with the market and if we can get musicians on and whatever, it's going to be a brilliant event all round, just to raise funds, which is the point. It's the point.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure we get those Ravanelli big heads. That's what we need.
Right. Well,
again, haven't they? Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but yeah, they are confirmed. We've got them. So Big Ed Rav and Big Ed Mo will be at the Riverside. We need someone to wear them, though.
I was just going to say we'll have to get a picture of the players themselves next to them.
I think I've got a volunteer just up there.
Do you know what? Have they still got the shirts, Dave? Because I might need one of those after lockdown. The giant shirts.
Do you know what? I don't even know what they come with. I'm going to have to go and find out. I'm probably going to have to go and view the merchandise.
Ravanelli putting on a bit of weight.
Actually, yeah. Who's gonna man them? Who's gonna be lifting them up?
That's what we. I've been asking for volunteers for this thing and help. Suddenly the call will go out. Can anybody be a big head, please?
Just everyone listening, everyone watching. He's been asking us to, if you want to be involved, let us know. And I've put my name forward, and I think I know exactly what I'm doing. We're going to be drawing the short straw. So there's a few comments coming in, just asking kind of what we think is going to be happening on Saturday. Obviously, we're going to be hosting Swansea City at an empty Riverside Stadium, which is going to be a bit strange for everyone all round. Everyone's going to be fit. Ayala's not playing. It's really strange, isn't it, Paul? What are you hoping for on Saturday?
Nothing else than a win. You'd hope the lads would be up for it. They've had a couple of weeks now to prepare for this. I bet they've known long before us that Ayala's not playing. So let's just go out, give it our best shot, and get the 3 points.
Rob, anything you want to add? Any predictions, maybe? I know we're a bit early in the day for that, but
do you know what? It'd just be nice to see football back, and some semblance of normality, I suppose, to that side of things. I'm hopeful that we'll see a decent performance from the team. Some of the friendly results maybe not being what we wanted, but
and that's my concern.
They don't really, they don't matter, but they obviously can affect a bit of confidence. I know the Huddersfield ones I don't think went very well, but if we can get our if we can get our best 11 out there minus Ayala, we should probably have been around the 13, 14, 15 position this season. So if we could get a couple of wins and see where we get to, that'd be great.
Yeah. Dave, you might know, because obviously you hear whispers and rumours that we don't. I've not come across the scores, funnily enough, from the Huddersfield game. Do you know how they finished? Was it 3 40-minute games or something?
It was 3 45-minute games. Yeah. And look, I know nothing officially.
Okay.
But what I've been able to glean, there are two scorelines doing the rounds, and neither of them bode well for Swansea. And the best one was a 3-0 defeat, but the one I'm hearing more and more from people who claim to be in the know is a 5-1 defeat over those 3 45-minute thirds. Either or, it doesn't bode well for confidence levels. Does it?
You never know. You never know. Obviously, you know what Chinese whispers are like, and rumours that get passed around. I must admit, though, the 3-2 defeat to Newcastle, I wasn't too annoyed by that, to be honest, because we went 2-0 up, changed the team round, ended up 3-2. Newcastle are doing pretty well in the Premier League. They're a Premier League club. We're a million miles from that. So to be one goal different, I wasn't too upset by that. Paul, you must have seen the highlights from that game as well, did you?
Yeah, I mean, we were 2-0 up with 30 minutes left, and he changed the whole team. We put the kids on for the last half an hour, and the Premier League side scored 3. So positive. Yeah, the result might not be positive, but it's positive in terms of the performance that our full strength side was beating the Newcastle Premier League side for an hour.
Well, that's the positive I took from it. But as Rob said earlier on, friendlies can not mean a lot, or they can mean a lot. It's a bit of a strange one going into the last few games of the season. There's plenty of comments coming in. Ibrahim's been on saying, I hope we go out without fear. I think he's talking about the game on Saturday and the run until the end of the season. We did have a comment from Jonathan Stevenson just about the game on Saturday, hosting Swansea. He says it's got 1-0 Swansea written all over it. Rob, would you agree with that? Swansea are going for a playoff spot as well, so they need the points. Or it's possible for them to go for a playoff spot. They need the points just as badly as us.
I feel like, unfortunately, it's got the makings of one of those typical Borough afternoons, doesn't it? We come out first half, we're playing really well, we've made chances. Half time, we're thinking, get in. We're going to win at least 5 of these games. We're definitely going to stay up. And then the 82nd minute comes, they get a scabby goal from a corner, and then it all goes downhill.
I'm going to make a prediction here that we won't have to wait 80-odd minutes for a goal. Sadly, I think it'll probably come in the first half, and it won't be for the Borough. I've just got a horrible feeling.
We'll have to wait 8 minutes for a goal.
I think we'll have a bright 20 minutes, and then we'll slip back into old ways. Dave, I am a doom gloom merchant. I shall go now. Bye.
No, you're a realist. You're a realist. There's a lot of us thinking the same thing. There's a lot of us fearful. There's a lot of comments going on social media saying that the players might play with a bit more freedom, a bit more relaxed, given that there's going to be no crowd and there's going to be nobody on the backs after 10 minutes. That's the thinking. Is that trying to put a positive on the fact that there's going to be no fans there? Or is there anything in that, do you think, Dave?
I think there is something in that. I think the atmosphere has been a little toxic during the season, the normal season so far. But in the same breath, you got Swansea coming out saying it's going to be an eerie Riverside, not having that same atmosphere. Therefore, we feel we can go there and express ourselves positively. So it swings and roundabouts. Maybe the pressure is off a little bit from a Borough perspective, but certainly the pressure will be definitely off from an opponent's perspective. So I think Swansea will benefit from it. The question is, how much will the Borough benefit by? Well, to be fair, from the initial 10, 15 minutes, the support is always there for the Borough. And it's when you start seeing cracks appear when fans turn. So I don't know how much it will benefit us. I really don't. Look, we'll beat them 3-0 and we'll go on to then claim another 12 more points and we'll be perfectly fine.
We can hope.
Then again, something's just gone past my window.
Was it a pig?
Yes.
We've talked about this before on the show, haven't we, Paul, on the radio and that, but I'm kind of a proponent that I don't think it really matters whether you play home or away. When you see they're playing away from home, so they might be a bit more defensive. I've always thought you're playing 11 men. It doesn't matter who's in the crowd. You're still playing 11 men. It'll be quite interesting to see, given that there's going to be no fans there. It'll be quite interesting to see what that has an effect on the pitch. Do you not think?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen in the German Bundesliga that home advantage has gone out the window. So it's every man for himself, 11v11. Let's just have a good game, get the 3 points, get on with it. 1-0 Borough.
However, there is pressure on the Borough's shoulders because a lot of people will be looking at this Swansea game, home with no fans or not, as one of the games we should be winning. That's my concern.
It's going to be the bookmark, isn't it, for the remaining 8 of the season this Saturday coming up?
What do you mean by that, Dave? Do you mean it's one of the games we should be winning because we need the points, or it's one of the games we should be winning given the opponents?
The opponents and the points. We look at the last 9 games of the season. We know it's a tough run in. There are certain games in there you've got to focus on and think that's one of the games we have to win if we're going to survive.
Yeah.
That's where the pressure comes from. The Swansea game is one of the games we should, under normal circumstances, at the Riverside, with the crowd in, we would look at the Swansea game and think, we've not had a great season, but we should take this one.
So what's your prediction then, Dave? Oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No, go on. I was going to say, if we go away to Stoke the following game, having lost the Swansea game, if the Stoke result doesn't go well because they're around us, then the first 2 games have gone against you, and then straight away your back's against them. We've got to get a win out of the first 2 for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think I've got a feeling we're more chance of doing Stoke down there than Swansea. I think it's going to be a draw on Saturday.
Rob, any predictions for Saturday?
2-1 Borough.
Good lad.
2-1 Borough. I'll go with 2-1 Borough as well. One last thing I want to touch on. Dave, how long have we got left?
As long as you want. You're in charge. You're the presenter.
Well, crack on. There's one last thing I want to touch on. I'm sure you'll have all seen, and you might know a bit more about the football in that part of the world than we do, Dave. Curtis Fleming has just been announced as the new manager of Punjab FC in the I-League over in India.
Yeah.
Now, it's raising a couple of questions for me. We all saw these big Italian players and big Spanish players that were going out to India for kind of one last season. I'm sure, Rob, you'll know a little bit about that as well. You're kind of like me. You keep one eye on what's going on everywhere. So what kind of football is out there, Dave? I mean, I know you've spent a lot in that part of the world.
I've taken players to India. When I was out in Asia, I sent a few players in there, and I know a few people who've been involved from a manager's perspective out there. But that was in the days of the I League, not the ISL, which is the Indian Soccer League. Now the ISL has been formed, and it is the premier competition in India. And the whole idea of it is they take their best teams, they create this exclusive league, and they're given the resources. There was a TV deal behind it, and it gives them the resources to sign these foreign players to come in and support the best in Indian talent. Hasn't quite taken off as they hoped it would. It's an IMG Reliance operation. They're the guys who own it and market it. But it's building. Indian football was very weak, and they have thrown some money behind it to try and build it. And when you bear in mind the country's got a population of 1 billion, there's an awful lot of untapped talent in there, and that's what they were hoping for. But it still hasn't ignited the blue touch paper. It hasn't taken off. Certainly nothing like cricket and kabaddi and things like that, which are your national sports over there.
Yeah. But wasn't Marco Materazzi over there at some point in some sort of role? And they've attracted some big players and big names. They
have, and there's a following for it. I refereed the Calcutta derby. It was East Bengal against Mohun Bagan. They are the two.
Quite acclaimed, Dave. I like that.
Yeah, they are the two biggest teams in India, and there was 110,000 people in at Salt Lake Stadium in Calcutta when I refereed it. So it shows you what passion there is for the game. And let's not forget, cities like Kolkata, which is where they're both from, you've got a couple of really big footballing cities. So Goa, Mumbai, that area, but Goa particularly because the Portuguese influence is a big football following there. Kolkata, which is Calcutta.
Steve Keane manager over there as well.
Yeah, you've had a few. You've had a few of them go out there. I'm trying to think. Steve Darby's a good mate of mine. He's a lad who's in Liverpool. Funnily enough, Robbie might be your next door neighbour. Who knows? But he's been a coach out in Australia and Asia for a long, long time. He's back home at the moment because his mum's not well and he's been home for a little while. But I'm trying to think. Was there a Peter Reid went out there with him, or because I got Steve into the Thai job when Peter Reid took it. I phoned up Peter Reid and I went, "You need somebody who knows Asian football inside out. Somebody who look after your back, knows the culture, how it all works. When they say yes, they really mean no. So get this guy involved." And Steve worked with Peter Reid, and I'm sure didn't the pair of them go out to India as well? I've taken my eye off the Indian football ball over the last 2 years or so, which is obviously this ISL time. But they've got high hopes for it. A lot of money's been thrown into it. They want to see the game progress. It's going to take time. It's going to take time.
It's a bit like the US, sort of 10, 15, well, longer, 15, 20 years ago, probably pre-USA 94. Huge country, lots of interest there, lots of players there, no real infrastructure at that time. The Major League Soccer had obviously tried in the 70s and 80s and hadn't quite taken off, and then they tried again. Similar sort of thing going on there. I'm sure you join me in wishing him all the luck in the job.
But he's been out there coaching, hasn't he?
I was going to say, this is one thing, especially with all the discussions on equality and things that are going around at the moment, and there's been a lot of black and minority ethnic ex-players speaking about coaching positions and things like that. It just is it kind of indicative that there maybe aren't those chances over here, that he's had to go to India for a manager's job, or is a job out there of a certain level rather than in terms of job attractiveness? What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I don't think it's got anything to do with black and ethnic minority communities not being given opportunities. Why he's gone out there? I think Curtis's background is more in this country viewed as an assistant or a coach rather than a manager.
Right, yeah.
You've got the likes of Higgy, who's got more managing experience than Curtis, and Higgy can't even get a coaching position at the moment. So I think there's an awful lot of people in the queue, and Curtis has looked at the opportunity. I'm sure he's been out there. I'm absolutely convinced he's already been out there coaching.
He has been at the same club as well. Yeah.
He's had a season in the ISL where he's been coaching, And now he's been given the manager's position, which is fantastic, because what it'll do is it'll give him hands-on managing experience, and that'll add to his CV. So maybe he can come back here and then start looking at managing. But I don't think it's got anything to do with his background from a BME perspective at this moment in time. Though let's all hold our hands up in this country. You know, how many black or managers of ethnic minorities do we see in the Premier League and the Championship? Not a lot. Not a lot.
No,
underrepresented massively.
Absolutely, and we've talked about this before, and it would be great to see these opportunities come up, and I'm sure they do, and I'm sure Curtis will do some good work, and I loved seeing him on the touchline at the Riverside. It was fantastic to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Curtis. He's a great lad. He's Borough through and through as well. He's one from that era, isn't it? We all remember Curtis bombing up and down from his fullback position, raiding up and down on the wing. And a couple of these videos I've been cutting when we announced the players for this charity match. I've seen a couple of glimpses of Curtis there playing his part, and fantastic guy, really is.
Is that a hint to another announcement, is it, Dave, anytime soon? Or?
No hints, mate, no hints. More names this week.
No names this week. We've had more. We've had Steve Baker.
More names this week.
Sorry. We've had one on tonight's show. That's a bit of an exclusive. I'll take that. So you're saying was it 2-1? You were saying, Rob, for Saturday's game at home to Swansea?
Yeah, total blind optimism as usual. I think we've just got to go in it positively. If Woodgate sets out a team that he thinks can win, for me, is a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. Get Sombalonga and Fletcher up there. Get Spence and Coulson at wing back. Go for it.
I'm excited to see us
if we don't
full force, really.
Yeah, if we don't go for it and go down, what was the point?
Exactly. There's a lot of fans saying the same thing. Yeah.
Go for the win, because that's what we need. We need wins. Draws are not enough. Draws were all right in February, but they're not now. 4 wins, 5 wins we need.
Yeah. Stu Gawley says, I think we should stock up on beer because that's what we'll need. I think he means during the run-in. Paul, what was your prediction just quickly before we go? 1-0. Dave?
1-1. I'm going for the 1-1 draw. I can't see us winning it. I hope I'm wrong. Please prove me wrong. And we will be doing a match day live on Red Army. So, the boys will be here while the action's going on.
Excellent. Well, on that note, I think, as I said, I'll agree with Rob. I'll go with a 2-1 Borough win. But just to echo everyone's sentiments here, I think if we, as long as we give it a go for these last 9 games, it's like a mini tournament. If they treat it's the old cliche, isn't it? If they treat every game like a cup final, we can't go far wrong. I am fearful, but I'm really, really looking forward to football coming back on Saturday, as I'm sure you guys are as well. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us on Red Army TV. As Dave said, we are going to be doing a match day live on Saturday. Is kick-off, is it midday or is it's just moved again?
12:30, isn't it,
12:30, isn't it?
12:30, yeah. So, 12:30 kick-off. We'll be watching the game, bringing you our views. And
we'll be on air at 12.
Join us.